Actually, I don't know if this, to what extent this is true in your district, Sandy, but there is a phenomenon where you'll have state legislatures coming to the Albany and saying, my district is getting killed by school taxes, we've got to have more aid. The state legislature passes more aid, and then, like within weeks, the districts put budgets on the ballot that spend that aid and then more and raise property taxes. And in some cases, you're talking about districts that are spending 20, 25, upward, close to $30,000 per pupil. They're not the high needs districts that are compelled to do this. How do you explain, to what extent is that going on in your district? Where the property taxes are being driven not by, strictly speaking, need, but by desire.
I'm a believer when you have more money, you spend it. And I think I sat here many years ago talking about how schools were going to, we had this period of time, actually I left teaching during that period of time when there weren't a lot of school kids coming along, and we were closing schools. So that was kind of like my reentry. That's how I got into government instead. But I remember sitting here and talking about these changes. You'll have an increase in schools, and then when the economy is good, they're going to spend a lot more. When the economy is bad, they'll probably think about cutting back. So, I think actually last year the budgets didn't grow as much last year. Well, we gave them significant increases. So at least in my district, they didn't grow as much. But, I think they're always out there because kids, you always think you need more. I'm not a believer in it's all about how much you spend on a child. You have to spend a certain amount. That's why the Campaign for Fiscal Equity and the foundation aid, I think, is really good. And how much more you spend, I don't know. I don't see always the relationship with the money and whatever. But, I really think when the money is there, the school districts just decide, well, this is a very good time economically to do whatever it is that you want to do, increase classes maybe, put in a different Latin class or whatever it is. But, Charles Johnson wrote in response to our hearing yesterday, and I told him I got all excited reading his testimony. He wasn't there, so we couldn't quiz him. But he made a good point on some things, and one of them is school districts, and this is back to boundaries. We have these boundaries for school districts, we have boundaries for local governments and county, but we can't kind of work together. So if school districts wanted to share in purchasing from towns, the state, and this and that, there are complications to it. And I think one of the complications is we only reimburse school districts if they go through BOCES. Or they get a reimbursement if they go through BOCES. So they don't get a reimbursement, and I could be wrong, but they don't get a reimbursement. They go through other town contracts. Can they buy health care together? And I know that in Suffolk County they're working on, I think we heard from Steve Levy, that they're trying to work on this health care consortium that everybody could buy into it. So we got to get rid of boundaries. We have to go, we got to get back to low bids. And the state can be the leader on all of this, that, have the big plans and let people just buy into it to try to save us some money. So, we do need to make some structural changes to help our schools. But, I think generally they like to spend a lot of money. And the voters, will they turn them down? I think the voters, it's different with the Massachusetts plan. My understanding with the Massachusetts plan, they have a formula foundation, you've got to spend a certain amount of money. What goes out to the voters if they want to go forward with spending more money are very specifics, like, if this year you want to add this to your budget, this is what you're voting on. What we vote on now is a total budget. And if we say no to it, I think people are fearful of saying no to it, then we certainly, we know athletics are out. I mean, you just know certain things are going to be taken out. So people vote yes. And would they vote yes on our state budget? Probably not. They wouldn't vote yes on the county budget. And maybe there's more compassion for children so that they would, in education for children, so maybe they'll vote yes on that and not on the other. People come to my office all the time and says, what does the state do for me? So, I have to remind them, what does the county do? What are these roads? You're on that road. Do you like that road? Did we put money into it? We didn't put enough into it. And that bridge that's falling, all those things that, and you want the bad guys in jail? Yes, you want the bad guys in jail. Well, we have to spend money. People don't, know how it's all spent, but I don't know the answer. I mean, my public basically, I think they vote yes too because they feel like the economics of their community, the property tax value is there, even if they don't want to. They feel that a no vote in their community will say something about the community, and if they want to resell their property, it's going to be a problem for